One day, a young Lucas begins to suspect the truth of his parentage after being teased about his possible connection to Nathan Scott during their junior basketball game. When he questions his mother if Nathan is his brother, she denies it, but later that night, he hears her crying behind closed doors, and that's all the confirmation he needs. Lucas and Nathan Scott are half-brothers who were raised in the same small town of Tree Hill, North Carolina. While Lucas grew up with the quiet anguish of being the forgotten son, Nathan was molded by the privileges and pressures of being the favored one. In this first episode, we see each brother confronted with a choice. Should Lucas pursue his own wants over his mother's needs? Should Nathan submit to his father's ambitions over his own desires? By the end of the first episode, it's clear that the path they've been set on, one marked by abandonment, the other by expectation, will lead them to face each other not as family, but as foes. This dynamic between Nathan and Lucas are mirrored by the strained interactions between another pair of brothers, Dan and Keith Scott, whose unresolved choices and lingering regrets, though yet to be fully revealed, will continue to influence what lies ahead for Nathan and Lucas. Lucas is our forgotten son. He is cared for by his mother Karen alone in the willful absence of his father, Dan. Lucas appears to us surrounded by friends, late at night, shooting hoops on an outdoor basketball court, donning sweatpants and a well-worn gray hoodie marked with sweat and his last name, Scott. At first glance, Lucas comes across as well-read and sincere. His love of literature is a major theme in the series.
Anyway, man, what you reading these days, man?
Steinbeck, The Winter of Our Discontent.
Let me hear some.
No.
Nathan Scott is our favored son, who has grown up with every privilege and all the weight of his father's unrealized dreams. He's presented as a raven-haired, strong-jawed, and arrogant star athlete. We also meet him on a basketball court, although his shots are brightly lit and backdropped by a full crowd, his father's Dan's gaze, and his girlfriend Peyton cheering him on. Mid-game, we see Nathan dismissively waving off his coach's concerns about the team's performance, quipping that they're up by 9, an attitude that earns him an immediate spot on the bench. But as the team struggles, Nathan is called back in. Rising to the challenge, he jumps and scores, with Dan watching in tacit approval. Basketball is the brothers' shared talent, but there is no single catalyst for the rivalry between Lucas and Nathan. At the center of it is their father, Dan, a man as arrogant as he is cold. With every action, Dan makes it unmistakably clear that Nathan is his chosen son, the one meant to carry his legacy. After the game, we follow Peyton, Nathan's girlfriend, as she drives haphazardly, rummaging in her back seat for a CD. Out of her line of sight, Lucas crosses directly in front of her, bouncing a basketball and blissfully unaware of her approach. Meanwhile, Nathan, having stolen a school bus, drives along just as carefree, distracted by a teammate and a girl pulling him in for a kiss. Unaware of the flashing train lights, he narrowly avoids a collision, mirroring Peyton's near miss with Lucas. Peyton faces Lucas in shock at first, but horridly shoos him along, brushing off his pointed look. Nathan, also shocked, slumps in his seat as he sees directly across from him a cop car. The next day, Nathan and his teammates face a tense deliberation from the principal, flanked by his father and Coach 𝒓𝒐𝒏𝒕. After revealing that most of the team will be suspended for their actions, we learn that Nathan, despite being the instigator, is excluded from the list of suspended players. Dan's careful nod to his son signals that Nathan's exoneration is entirely due to his father's influence and behind-the-scenes maneuvering. We meet Keith Scott, Dan's older brother, when he visits Coach 𝒓𝒂𝒕's office to persuade him to come to the outdoor court to watch Lucas play. Despite some initial resistance, 𝒓𝒂𝒕 is intrigued by Keith's genuine belief in Lucas's potential. Observing from a distance, out of Lucas's sight, they watch him play. Through 𝒓𝒂𝒕, we learn that Karen became pregnant shortly after her and Dan's senior year in high school. At the time, 𝒓𝒂𝒕 had encouraged Dan to pursue his college scholarship, a decision that only deepened Dan's absence from Lucas's life. Keith views this absence as a stroke of luck, sparing Lucas from the suffocating demands Dan places on Nathan. Whitey, seeing a glimpse of Lucas's potential, takes him aside the next day and offers him a spot on the varsity team.
Look, I've got an opening in my lineup. Varsity. Chance of a lifetime. What do you say?
However, Lucas declines, decisively walking out of the empty basketball gym. When Lucas joins his friends for their usual pickup game, they confront him about his decision to reject Whitey's offer to join the varsity team. They are unwavering in their belief of his potential. They refuse to play until he seriously considers the offer.
But keep it real. We ain't shooting for teams. We shooting to be your excuse. And I ain't about to be a part of that.
Here we see that their belief in Lucas's potential is fundamentally different than that of his father, Dan, and more closely aligned with his uncle, Keith.
Because he should know that he's good. You know, not just playground good, but good, period.
They know Lucas is talented and want him to recognize and embrace his own gifts. It becomes clear to us that Lucas is using his friends as an excuse to avoid a path that would bring him closer to his father and half-brother. That same day, Lucas receives a package containing a Ravens basketball jersey. His mother, Karen, walks in on him trying it on, and visibly shaken, immediately commands him to take it off. Karen's devotion to her son is evident, and although the sight of Lucas donning the Ravens jersey, marked with the Scott name, haunts her and stirs painful memories, she ultimately, like his friends, encourages him to choose his own path and claim the destiny he desires.
My past is not your future, okay?
In the next scene, as Dan engages with Nathan during his workout, he brings up Coach Whitey's interest in Lucas joining the team. Nathan counters bluntly, "Your son?" Dan is quick to correct him, dismissing his past relationship with Lucas's mother, Karen, as a passing nuisance and labeling Lucas himself as a mistake. Dan instructs Nathan to discourage Lucas from playing, warning that his involvement could threaten Nathan's own chances. This prompts Nathan to confront Lucas, challenging him to a high-stakes basketball game. If Lucas wins, Nathan will quit the team. If Nathan wins, Lucas will retreat back to his own world and leave Nathan's alone. Lucas doesn't immediately accept the bet, but when he does, he changes the terms. If Lucas wins, Nathan must now stay on the basketball team. Later, at Keith's auto shop, Dan and Keith discuss the growing tension between the boys, and Dan makes a horrifying confession.
I can't change the fact this kid exists. If I could, I would. The truth is, I told Karen I'd take care of it.
Returning from helping to tow Peyton's car, Lucas overhears this, a painful confirmation of his father's rejection. Just before Nathan and Lucas are set to play out their bet, Nathan is confronted by his father, Dan. He reminds Nathan that he has everything to lose and nothing to gain, suggesting they find another way. But Nathan stands firm, explaining that, unlike everything else he does for his father, this is something he's doing for himself. He tells Dan that what his father considers everything means nothing to him. This foreshadows Nathan's desire to carve out his own path, distinct from his father's ambitions. This desire lands him on the court in a heated face-off against his brother as they dare the other to play their best. The game is fierce, their talent too close, until Lucas lands a series of shots and Nathan succumbs, tasting defeat. This marks the first of many tensions between the two brothers. By the end of the episode, Lucas is encouraged to pursue a new path and develop his talent, while Nathan, once again, finds himself bound by his father's expectations.
Don't worry, Dad. Your dreams are still safe.